I'm a cat behaviourist, so it's my job to help people that are struggling with their cat's behaviour. But guys, I'm so sick of seeing cats that are struggling with their owner's behaviour. So today I'm going to take you through a few dick moves that people often do to their cats that can cause lots of problems. And I'm going to tell you what the consequences can be for you and your cat. I realise I'm probably preaching to the converted on this one, so do feel free to share and let's get started. So the first one is picking your cat up and holding them tight, even though you know they don't like it and they want to get down. So when we pick our cats up, what we want is for them to be loving it. We want them to be doing really nice behaviours like rubbing their face on our face and purring and settling down and not sort of struggling to get away. If you're holding your cat and you know the moment you loosen your grip, they'll jump down, then we shouldn't really be doing it at all. Because what we're teaching them here is that we don't respect their boundaries, we don't care about what they want, and we're just imposing what we want on them. So cats, they thrive on having control and having the choice of what they do and what they don't do. And we're taking all that control away if we just hoof them off the floor and hold them until we're ready for them to get down. Lots of cats will attack if they don't like being picked up, so you might get a swipe to the face, or they might panic and run up your shoulder to try and jump off the other side. And obviously, if they do this, you probably won't pick them up in future because it hurts you. But some cats won't. Some cats will just tense up, they'll freeze, they'll just be like, oh God, will you just stop? And as soon as you loosen your grip, then they jump down. So if you have either of these two sort of scenarios, then I would avoid picking your cat up. Only do it if they love it, if they're all snuggly and they really enjoy the interaction. Secondly is jump scaring. So sometimes people will feel like it's a fun way to play with the cat by jumping out on them and making them jump and scaring them. And some people will feel like it's fun to watch cats that puff up like a Halloween cat and they jump up on the bed and they're scared and they're like, ooh. And some people feel like that's a game. And I can see why you might think that's the case. But if your cat's showing those behaviours where they genuinely are scared, like they've been spooked, their fur's all sticking up on end, they're leaning back away from you, they might be hissing, then I would say that these behaviours are all indicating that they're not okay and they're not happy, not enjoying the game. What I would just like hammer home here is that cats are very suspicious as a species. So we really need to be building their trust. That's like the main thing to avoid any sort of behavior problems. We need them to trust us. We need them to know that when they're around us, they can relax, they can chill. So jump scaring is the total opposite of that and causes lots and lots of issues, which I'll get to at the end. But yeah, definitely jump scare is not a good idea. And I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but I just keep seeing it over and over again. Next is roughhousing. So I have a whole video on this that I'll link to at the end. But if you play rough with your cat, so by this I mean like you might pick them up, might flip them over, rub their tummies, and like loom your hand towards their face so that you're encouraging things like grabbing with front paws or pouncing on you and bunny kicking with their back feet. And lots of people enjoy playing with their cats this way. But if you do this, what often you'll find is that the cat will enjoy it. Some cats will enjoy it to some degree. Some cats won't enjoy that at all. But most cats will reach a point where they're like, I was enjoying it, but it's too much for me now. So I don't like this anymore. So here we're again not respecting their boundaries and we're not listening to their warning signs. So they will be given signs like, I'm not okay with this anymore. So you might notice that the fur stands up on end. You might notice they hiss at you. They might notice that they start biting that bit harder because they're like, I've had enough of this now, but you're still going. If we ignore all that, then every time this happens, the problem will get worse and worse. So even when they're playing, the bites are that much harder, the scratches are that much harder, especially with their back feet. And it becomes a real problem, especially when they start doing this with other people that are not so hands-on with the play, like your children or guests when you come into the house. Also, what we're doing here is teaching the cat to bite harder and be more aggressive when the situation is serious. So if you accidentally step on your cat's tail and they turn around to bite you to be like, that really hurt, that bite is going to be that much more severe and that much more serious. So that you're setting your cat up for a massive fail as and when a genuinely scary situation happens. So this is something I have a huge problem with when I come to see someone whose cat's being unpredictably aggressive. You can normally wheedle it back down to some sort of inappropriate play with people when they were younger or now. And the last dick move is just winding them up. So I see people that just like to prod and poke their cat until they get a response and they find that fun. Or that horrible social media trend where it's like, how many times can you pat your cat on the head before they get annoyed with you? Oh, it's infuriating, isn't it? So, obviously, in my experience, every cat is going to lose patience with you. Every cat has a line that if you cross it, then they're going to get fed up. So, if you're lucky, your cat will just run away and you won't get hurt. Otherwise, your cat might attack, like might swipe out at you or bite you or hiss at you. In which case, well, in both cases, to be fair, you're affecting your relationship, and that cat doesn't really or won't want to really spend much time with you. So, it's not a great idea. All four of these dick moves can lead to big problems for both your cat and for you. So, for your cat, what you're doing is actively introducing stress into their environment. So, stress is very individual. So, some cats won't find things stressful, other cats will, but it's very difficult to see when a cat is stressed. So, with any of these four things, if you're doing any of these, I would assume that your cat finds them stressful to some degree or another. So, rein it back in, because if you have a stressed cat, you're more likely to see urine marking. You're more likely to see your cat peeing outside the litter trays, and that once that starts, that is a massive problem for you and your family because imagine having to come down every day to check if the cat's weed somewhere, or imagine smelling wee but not knowing where it is. And it is absolutely horrible to overcome or to deal with and difficult to overcome. So bear that in mind. Also, cats, when they're stressed, they're less able to fight off physical illnesses. So you might find it actually has an impact on their physical well-being as well. So we don't want them to be more susceptible to falling unwell. So again, something else to keep in mind. But for me, the biggest problem is the aggression that follows. So you might not have any aggression on your hands now, or you might, but it might feel like it's manageable and not a big issue. But what I would say here is that you're probably on a slippery slope to bigger problems later down the line. So I've often seen things like random attacks. Like random attacks is one that often comes up where the cat shows no warning and they attack random people that have done nothing to them, and it seems to make no sense. And you think, God, my cat's gone crazy because they're just attacking people out of nowhere. But when you think about what that cat's actually been through, they don't trust people because we're playing with them in such a handsy way. They don't know what other person might do that to them too. So they attack other people just randomly, even if they haven't really done much to the cat. Also, they don't give off much warning because they've tried giving warning signs in the past to say, I've had enough of this now, I don't want to carry on, and it's been ignored. So why do they bother hissing? Why do they bother looking, like they're going to attack you or hesitating? They just go straight to it. So these random attacks that come out of nowhere, they are genuinely random. Like you don't know when it's going to happen, but you can understand why that's happening when you realize this is how this cat has been interacted with all along. They've been jump scared, they've been wound up, they've been played rough with, they've been picked up and restrained when they shouldn't have. So this whole experience can screw your cat up, can change their sense of how appropriate it is to act around people, and can create situations that are a massive problem for you and a stranger or your kids' friends or your kids or your partner or you. So it's a massive issue, and it really is important to stop these behaviours before it becomes too much of an issue. Alongside this is that in genuinely aggressive situations, you'll find the aggression is much, much worse. So, for example, if your cat's looking out the window and they see another cat and they get scared, you go and pick them up, you might find you get attacked. Or if you try to pick them up and put them in a carrier and they don't want to go in, or even something like you've accidentally walked too close to them on the stairs or cornered them in a place and they suddenly feel like, oh, I'm not okay anymore, then most cats will cope with that okay. They might give you a swipe, they might turn around and give you a nip. But for cats that have been played with or interacted with in a way like we've spoken about, that aggression is going to be much, much more severe. They're used to biting, they're used to pouncing, they're used to being out of control and not knowing how to cope with the situation. Like in that you wouldn't let them down when you pick them up, or you've jump scared them, they don't trust you anymore. So you're probably going to find that everything's escalated much, much more than before. And I've seen people where I've gone there and they've had such severe injuries, like their legs have been totally gashed up where their cat's panicked and run up their legs and clawed all up the legs, and there's blood running down everywhere. And it's just a really, really hard problem to undo. For me, it just comes down to the fact that we're sharing our homes with a little wild animal that's slotted in so well and copes with so many of the demands that we put on them that we should respect them. And the way that we interact with them is something we can easily change to make sure everything's on their terms and in a way that they're happy with, rather than us just wanting to do whatever we want with them. Like, they're not soft toys, they're little cats and they deserve our respect. But do let me know in the comments what your experiences are as I expect there's lots of you that do all this stuff with your cat and you've had no issues at all. So please let me know your experiences. But for me, I'm just sick of seeing it and coming away feeling like, oh, if only you hadn't done this with your cat, then we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in now with a super aggressive cat that we don't know what to do with. Anyway, don't forget to watch this video on rough play if you want to know more about that, and I will see you next week for another video. Take care.